Ford coming in the shop. Got a little bit of work to do to it.
Welcome back to JH Diesel and welcome back to the shop. Been a crazy couple weeks, been doing a lot of stuff, events going on, and we're not done. We have a ton of events lined up. Again, we put an announcement out of our event schedule. You guys see anything that's not on there you think we should be at? Send us something so we know. Shoot me an email, shoot me a message. A couple people brought up some stuff way out of state. It might be too much for us, but we're still gonna see what we can do. Michigan Mud Jam got brought up quite a bit. A couple other things did. So, and a couple of them overlap some other events. So pretty cool you guys let us know that, but again, we'll do what we can do on that. Until then, let's get back to the shop stuff. So we got a couple parts coming for the drag truck, which we're waiting on right now. I got a couple other things going on, but before we dive too deep into that, I've been neglecting the wife's truck. So got Danielle's truck here, you guys know. Did the lift wheels and tires on it a few months ago for Christmas. And I got some other goodies for it to keep this thing on the road and not breaking down. Now, we don't normally do videos like this, but I think it'd be really, really cool for anybody that's looking in the market for a truck or they have a truck, a 6.7 Powerstroke, to go over some of the things that we do to these trucks to make them safer, more reliable, and to stay on the road. So the 6.7s, Ford came out with this in 2011. They got away from International, started manufacturing their own engines. It's been a really, really, really good engine. It's the best engine they've had probably since the 7.3, but double or triple the horsepower of that thing. So we're gonna dive into it a little bit. They do have their issues though, and that's what we're gonna go over in this video, a couple of the issues that they have. We'll explain the issues that they have, we'll explain the cost of those issues and the fix for those issues, because we're gonna mainly do the fixes in this video so you guys can see it. So the biggest thing that the 6.7 liters do, this truck's got about 100,000 miles on it, is the crankcase filter. So there is a crankcase filter and it's kind of buried right here in the back here. And that crankcase filter back there, what that does is on these trucks, they get plugged up. A lot of people don't know about that. So 150, 200,000 miles, they've never done it before. Ford, I think, calls for 80,000 miles on a service interval. I could double check that, but I think it's about 80,000. We recommend to do it anywhere from 80 to 100,000 miles. Make sure you get it done because of the amount of issues it can cause. So it's a pretty simple part, but it's not the simplest to install it. So we'll open her up here. Now, there are different options for the CCV. There's a lot of guys that will do a reroute or CCV delete, and it deletes it out of the truck. So basically it just runs your crankcase pressure into the atmosphere. Emissions laws and things like that don't allow that. It is not legal, and it's kind of annoying when you walk up your truck and there's smoke coming out underneath it. It's not a cool thing. You can put a crankcase filter on it, but then you've got one more thing to service and worry about as you're doing that. So I'm gonna cut these boxes open so you guys can get a feel of what we're doing here. So this is an OEM one from Ford. That's what we're gonna put on her truck. So here's your crankcase filter, pretty simple. This filter will go inside that casing. This connects to your intake. So basically it's not letting the pressure out in the atmosphere. It catches it and it will kind of recycle it a little bit, but it does have a little vent on it. But either way, this is how they do it from the factory. We're gonna put a factory one on hers. Again, she's got just over 100,000. The reason you have to do this, a couple of the biggest failures on the 6.7 is oil leaks. So these trucks are really good trucks. As I said before, these engines are really good, but we get a ton of them that come into our shop and they're leaking oil, mainly out of the upper oil pan, the front cover, and sometimes injector O-rings. There's a lot of stuff, or injector grommets. There's a lot of places it can come out of. When you do that and you let this thing go and it goes on and starts basically plugging up and pushing oil out everywhere, it starts to get to be very expensive. An oil pan on one of these, an upper oil pan, it's like $3 or $4 grand to do that job. It calls for, I think, like 20 hours to do it, plus your parts and everything else. By the time you're all said and done with taxes, oil, filters, everything that you have to put in the truck, you know, you're up there. Now, if the front cover starts leaking on it, you have to redo that oil pan job. So a lot of times when we get a truck in here and it's leaking out of the oil pan, I tell people, hey, it wouldn't be a bad idea to do the front cover right now because it's probably gonna start leaking eventually. And that way you don't have to go back in and do your whole oil pan job over. To do the oil pan job, you got to start at the rear end, pull the rear drive shaft, pull your transmission transfer case, pull your rear cover, pull your lower oil pan, pull your upper oil pan, and then if you go to the front cover, you pull the front cover. It's a lot of labor to do that. It's a lot of time. So I recommend to people, if you do this, it could save you thousands and thousands of dollars on repairs. So that is part one of the job that we're doing today. Part two, I'm going to show you another very, very, very common thing to do on these trucks that potentially fails and costs you thousands of dollars. We have in this box here, pull this little girl out, S&S Motorsports, we have the DCR pump. This is what they call a diesel common rail injection pump. It gets rid of that pesky CP4 pump that are prone for failing. So anybody that's owned a 6.7 Powerstroke or a LML Duramax will probably have something to say about the CP4 pump. The LMLs were basically failing, I think, a lot more than the Powerstrokes, but the Powerstrokes still do fail. So this pump right here is the new DCR pump that S&S Motorsports came out with, and this thing is supposed to be able to withstand just about anything. What happens is when that factory CP4 pump goes bad, it internally grenades 90% of the time. When it internally grenades, it puts all that metal into your system. So all your injectors, your return lines, your fuel tank sometimes is full of glittery metal, your lift pump, everything gets cycled that metal through it when it grenades. A lot of times it'll shut off and not recycle back to the motor fast, so it saves the lift pump, but most of the time, we replace everything as a shop to cover our asses, because we're gonna replace everything so we know that not a piece of metal is gonna be stuck anywhere and cause us an issue later on down the road. When we back all of our work like we do and we warranty it, we have to make sure our butts are covered. So, DCR conversion pump. This is a pump that you'll put on. This pump will not grenade like the CP4s. They've been tried, true. We sell tons of these. Very, very, very good upgrade on the 6.7s. And my argument for people is, I have a lot of people that are like, well, you know, it's $2,000, I think, for the parts, and another, I don't know, $1,000, $1,500 in labor, whatever it is. I get people all the time, they're like, well, I don't know if I want to spend that $3,000 to $4,000 right now on that, this and that. It may never go out, and then if it does, then I'll just spend the 10, or it's like 7 or 8, I think, to do it, 10 or something, 10 grand. It's a lot, you know, to do the whole fuel system. So I got to look at some numbers on it. But either way, like I tell people, it's like, it's not necessarily the fact that it goes out and it may leave you stranded, and it may not grenade and fill the whole fuel system with metal. But the fact you could be towing a trailer to a job, you could be out of state traveling with your family, towing your fifth wheel, you could be 6 hours from home. Now you have a real problem. I recommend to do the DCR before it fails. Because yeah, it may never fail, but that big chance that it does, it's gonna cost you in the long run. So these two things are huge. Now, those are huge mechanical failures where it's gonna cost you thousands and thousands of dollars on the mechanical side. So now we get over to our boys at Fleece Performance, and they've got a few kits for these trucks too that really help. A huge issue that happens to these trucks, there's a plastic fuel filter on top of the engine, and that plastic fuel filter or that fitting can break. When they break, if you're under a load and you're heavy towing or you're doing something that's, you know, really working the truck, when that filter fitting breaks and blows diesel fuel in the center of that really hot engine, it's been common and notorious for these things to catch on fire and burn to the ground. So you're not safe with your family, you're not safe with whoever in the truck. At the same time, your whole truck can burn to the ground. It's very, very, very common to see these 6.7s on the side of the road, like the aluminum bodies are just melted to nothing. A lot of times that happens from that fuel filter breaking. So when we try to make these trucks as bulletproof as we can, we recommend the DCR pump, we recommend your CCV filter, and then we also recommend your upper fuel filter kit right here. And here is also the return fitting that we're gonna be putting on it for the fuel return line. They make that out of billets, so that's nice. Now what it's gonna do is it's gonna take that plastic filter, and you're gonna actually have this nice billet housing that one of these spin-on filters right here is gonna go in. Now we need to change it. Very simply done, very nice setup. So that will be going in place of that. And then last but not least, you have your under filter kit. These under filters on these trucks are also plastic. So you're driving down the road, you hit a big rock or something, and it comes up, smacks that under filter, and you got a big problem because you're pouring fuel all out under the truck. And that's never good. Dude, their packaging and stuff, they do a really good job. So here is this nice billet fuel block you put under the truck. And this thing's gonna house this nice big fuel filter water separator right here. And then your Fleece Performance billet bracket will all hang under the truck and eliminate that plastic filter. So this right here, I would say is probably about the bulletproof package if you own a 6.7 Powerstroke. Because these things can, one, leave you stranded on the side of the road, two, cost you thousands of dollars in repairs, and three, they could possibly burn the whole truck down, and you never want that to happen. So we're gonna start putting these things on. We'll start getting rid of the old stuff and putting the fresh stuff on. We'll start out with doing our CCV filter and our upper filter kit, and then we'll climb underneath and we'll do our lower filter kit, so the lower fuel filters and everything are good. So we'll show that install so you guys can check it out, and hopefully you guys learned something. I like the 6.7 Powerstroke. I'm a big Duramax guy myself. I do have a Cummins, obviously, and for me, I like the Duramax over them all. The 6.7 is right there. I think Cummins has fallen behind a little bit on their newer stuff. I think they need to pick it up. They just came out with their 6th gen, so that's pretty cool. Hopefully that truck shows a ton of improvement. I know they came out with a new transmission for it. They've got a higher output engine for it. So hopefully that truck puts them a little bit back on the market, because they've honestly fallen off the past couple years. But we're gonna dive into the 6.7 and hopefully make this thing just as reliable as any other truck on the road. So check it out, guys. Get this thing done. Hers is already tuned up a little bit. We did some stuff to it a long time ago before the EPA came knocking on my door. So this truck runs really well. And we're gonna get this thing tuned up and ready for her and get her back on the road. So part one of the job is done, and one big thing that you can see that the crankcase filter is totally different. That's because we update it to a 23-24 filter. It's a better filter, it works better. So we update those on any truck that we do. So our Fleece fuel filter is up here. It is looking great. We gotta put that return fitting in, I think. I don't think we did that yet. This guy, you gotta get this guy in there, buddy. So either way, we'll get that thing in too. Got a little ahead of ourselves, happens all the time. So we'll get that thing in, and we'll get her back together so you guys can check that out. And then we go underneath for the lower fuel filters. Now we're finished. Got our nice return line fitting in there. That thing will not break off. Boy, let me tell you what. So now that we have everything done on the top, we're gonna go down to the bottom and get this bottom fuel filter assembly in, which is gonna eliminate that big plastic plastic flat style filter. We'll show you when we pull that thing out. It's gonna eliminate all that, and it's gonna put this nice spin-on fuel filter water separator setup in there, and it should look pretty good when it's all done. So we'll get started on that right now. Get her out of there, get the fresh one in. I think everything is now done. Let's go underneath here. Look at this bad boy. Look at that, dude. Fits nice. We'll get some brake clean that off, but otherwise it is looking good in there. Easy access to the filter. Huge shout out to Fleece. These guys are freaking awesome. Make some good products. And everything fit really good. Like, there wasn't really...
Everything fit really good.
Like,
getting those hoses off at fuel lines, those...
That sucks.
If you know how to work those clamps, it's not as bad. I didn't know how those clamps work. It was not good.
Yeah, getting that off was a little bit of a pain, but everything got set up nice. So huge shout out to Fleece Performance for getting us set up with what we needed on this thing. Ford for making a product, and S&S, you guys are awesome too. So thank you guys so much. You can grab these. They're all on the website. Everything's available. This is the old stuff that was pulled out. Just shows you the difference of how big and bulky that filter was compared to everything else. Your upper fuel filter, your lower fuel filter. And what's cool too is these are pretty generic filters. Donaldson makes them. Just about everybody will have a filter. You can go to any parts store or heavy equipment store and probably get a filter that you need. So it's not like you're putting something on there that is unavailable. So really cool. Let's go take this thing for a spin. We'll get her primed up and get her driven down the road, and hopefully everything's good with it. We already primed it up a couple times on these. You kind of just press this thing a couple times and it kicks the ignition on, and then we've already done it a few times. So typical wife's truck. Got the biggest cup you can imagine in the cup holder, and she's set to go. Think I'll get in trouble if I do a burnout?
Yeah.
I think she'll be pissed.
Technically, they're your tires. They were.
They were. Not anymore. Not anymore. So a little tip I learned on these trucks is the traction control. So you have your normal traction control, and then you hold it, and that will turn I think it's the advanced track off, but that still doesn't fully make this truck like a ripper, right? So first of all, we're gonna lock in the rear diff, so we're locked in. My white truck does not have that. I don't know why it doesn't have the diff lock, but whatever. A lot of people were saying that we were trying to do a burnout with it, and it was going one wheeler. Like, lock the diff in, there's a diff. And mine does not have that. So that doesn't fully take your traction control off. But what I did find was, if you do this, advanced track sport mode.
Yeah, I see it.
So let's see if we can do a burnout in this thing and see if the wife can come out and yell at us.
Yeah, she won't know. Yeah, it works. It's good. Parts are good.
Oh.
Tires are bald.
Hey.
What the hell are you doing?
I was testing your truck. We just put these parts on it. So I was testing the truck. We just put parts on it.
Had to make sure it was still do it.
Yeah.
It did it before.
By doing a burnout. I mean, what do you think? By doing a burnout. Of course, that's how we're testing it. Can't say nothing. Hey, back up. We gotta make sure it does a good one.
You're not doing a burnout.
Back up.
Truck.
We gotta make sure it does a good one. All right, back up to it. Safe.
to just go, huh? Yeah.
Try a different way. Back to Duramax.
Yeah, probably best that it doesn't work. Probably best that it doesn't do a big
I'm
burnout.
sure if I could finesse it a little bit better, we could get her to do a rip, but it's my wife's truck. I don't want to break it because then we'll end up having to fix it. It's going to cost me money. So I figure it's just best we leave it alone. So all in all, huge shout out to Fleece and S&S and everybody for making these quality parts. Really do feel a lot better because I've seen some stuff come in, and I mean, people are in a bad way when it's cost them, you know, 5, 10, 15 grand because, or a whole truck if your truck catches on fire. So super happy about it. Great install, and we'll get back to you here shortly.
Well, it's pretty crazy because I've never actually seen it happen. That one truck that came in, that fitting was actually broken.
Yeah.
And it was dumping fuel on top of the motor, which is crazy. I hadn't seen it, so it was like firsthand. I really...
No, it does. It happens. Well, we're going to come out here and get back on something that's been sitting for a minute because we got a couple things that we need to do with a diesel engine. So we're going to come back here to the JH junkyard, the JH recovery yard, I guess you could say, because a lot of this stuff gets recovered from dying a bad death and we bring it back to life, right?
Yeah.
Got our Prius.
Yeah.
Got our blower square body, which I know that we got away from this. We need a solid like 2 days to put back into this thing. And we have an issue with the trans that has to go back to my transmission guy. So we're going to figure out all these issues with the ramp truck. Hopefully when we slow down a little bit in the next couple months, we should be slowed up here after probably in sometime in May. I think we can get back to this. We have a bunch of carb work to do to it, and then we got trans work to do to it. But once that's done and the engine and drivetrain, everything's good, we're challenging my boy Cleet to a tow truck showdown. So once we get back to this, that'll be good. Just kind of giving you guys a heads up. We haven't forgot about it. It's been sitting. Unfortunately, we just haven't had the good amount of time to get back to it and fix it. Our schedule's been kind of crazy with traveling and events and stuff. And it's going to be crazy until middle of May right now, I think, is where we're at. So the rest of April and the first week of May, we're gone. So we're going to get back to the old girl here. Y'all remember this thing. Quite the unit that we ended up making do wheelies. Runs great, I think. So I think this is a perfect candidate for some experimental tests that we need to do with some diesel fuel. I'm gonna get it drug out of the woods, we'll get it running. If it all runs and drives and there's not really any major issues after doing the wheelies, then you'll see it in some upcoming videos. But let's see if we can get this little girl to fire up. Hey, there's power.
Not a lot, though.
Yeah.
You gotta push the clutch in, too. It's got a neutral safety switch.
I don't think. Yeah, it doesn't even do anything.
Yeah. Sure, with a little boost from that guy, it'll...
Well, we'll find out.
Yeah, I don't know if that's gonna give
It's
it
pretty
enough.
flatline right now, dude. It's making a little
positive.
weird little beep, beep noise in there. Pretty good. We'll see.
Well, she's dinging now. Maybe.
Maybe.
You get one shot at it with that.
Yeah.
Come on, old girl. Oh, she's starting to go. Oh, yeah. Oh, she's alive.
It's sitting for a minute. It took it a little bit to really get winding up. I was like, oh, it's dead. And then it got better and better and better until it finally fired up.
oil injector hole.
You know, that wasn't a big hit. YouTube, I don't think really liked that very much when we dumped diesel fuel in the exhaust for our smoke screen. I think it was great. That's personal opinion. I think it was awesome.
Think it's supposed to be doing that still? Oh, it's clearing right up now. Clearing right up now.
Got that little bit of compression issue in the morning when it's cold. Once it gets some heat in the motor, spans the rings, everything goes away.
Now we'll see if old girl will move. You gotta put a little stick in there, that's all. Take one of them sticks off the bed and put it in there. Yep, there you go.
Yep. Solid.
Like new.
I kind of recall this thing running a little rougher than what it did, but hey, I'll take it. So we got to get this thing back out. Next couple videos we got coming out, we're going to be doing some experimental stuff with this thing. I think you guys are really
Easy does it now.
Really enjoy it. But for now, we got it drug out of the woods. We know it runs. We know it's firing on probably 7.5. That'll work. And we'll get it back in the shop, play around with it. So we'll see you guys next time on the JH channel. Some other shenanigans.